Good evening, everybody. During dinner, I got an understanding of why some of you came, right? So as a little disclaimer, I just want to say that I did not write the promotional material, right? So I was pleasantly surprised by what Nelson did because it shows the dedication. He went to my LinkedIn, he read about me, I don't know, he Googled, don't know anything bad or not, and then he put something together, okay? But we did have a conversation, and some of it can be a bit mysterious. I'm trying to not make this into a talk, but into a sharing. But I want to make sure that the sharing, you can relate, okay? And the only way I can make sure the sharing you can relate is by understanding a little bit about your background, right? So for example, who are non-Catholics here? Okay, right? Oh, okay, good. I know Michael. What's your name? Shana, okay. Actually, I asked only lah. I won't be able to remember lah. Right? It's very hard to remember all your names. So please pardon Shana if I don't remember your name. It's an occupational hazard. Okay? And I'll explain as I go along why it became an occupational hazard. In my work, I actually see tens, if very often thousands of people a day. How to remember the name, right? So I gave up lah. So it's a mental block already. I don't remember the name, you know. So pardon me. It's not that I don't have the propensity to remember. I did this for almost 20 years in meeting a lot of people, okay? But none of this came by accident. And you notice I have no slides, right? Actually, I only have 3 lah. The 3 is the Koyo one that I have to do lah because I'm wearing this t-shirt, all right? I have to earn my keep. It's because I wanted this to be a sharing. I wanted this to be a sharing of Jesus in my life. Okay? My faith journey brought me to where I am. And at the end of this session, right, I want you to kind of reflect. There's no coincidence, you know. You are where you are because Jesus wanted you to be where you are. Okay? And sometimes I'm myopic to think, oh, the journey is very painful. And I'll share with you the pain of my personal journey. And all of it, and I mean all of it, turned out well. Because Jesus is there. Okay? Okay, so I know some are non-Catholic. How many are entrepreneurs, as in you have your own business? Okay? Okay, own business. Okay. So, good news and bad news, there's some danger of having your own business. Alright? So I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business. So I went through the ups and downs of setting up a business and so on. So I know the challenges. And then the rest, I imagine you're employees, right? Couple of retired folks, I know. Employees have challenges or not? Have, yes? Okay, so I was an employee for 10 years. I was in the corporate rat race for 10 years, so I have the experience of what it's like to be under somebody in the corporate rat race. And then I took a leap of faith, again with God's blessing, okay? So I want to tell you my life story, right, from a slightly different angle. So I don't know, most people will tell you their life story as in history, right? How they usually tell your life story is their background, their family, and so on. So I'll just skip through that real quick, okay? I grew up very poor, actually. I'm the youngest of 6. My parents are very devout Catholic, so I'm a cradle Catholic. My parents wanted to abort my sister, number 5, I'm number 6. Okay? But because they are Catholics, they went to see the priest. The priest said, no. But my parents said, we can't afford it. Right? And they were very poor because my mom is a very kind dressmaker, seamstress. Right? So the time we made a dress, maybe about, I don't know, $15 for a nice gown, right? Or 20. And then when people come and alter, free. Put on weight, make it, a little bit size, half a size bigger, free. Lost weight, free. Right? So I used to ask her when I was old enough to ask, right? Hey, what do you charge? Right? And my mom said, hey, people put on weight and lose weight lah. Be kind. No need to charge. So she doesn't even charge the $2 or the $3, right? So how to make money? Right? So my mom is a very smart businesswoman, but with an extremely kind heart. Right? And because of that, she never made money. And because she never made money, she worried about money. And because she worried about money, she became sick very early. So by the age of 30, I think 40, she could not work already. So she was forced to be a housewife. Okay? Forced, huh? She just couldn't work. And she grew up during the war. So she witnessed her uncle being shot. She witnessed the auntie being raped by the Japanese during that period of time. And then she stopped going to school, right? And she went to a monastery, right? And that's where she learned sewing from the nuns, and that's how she be converted. And to her, she owed her living to God. Okay, and that became her foundation of her faith, because God gave her the living, just like God gave us the living. Okay. My dad is a teacher, but he's Malaysian, so when he came to Singapore, he's teacher. I still remember when, in 85, 86, when he retired, got no pension because he's Malaysian. Although his passport became Singaporean, there's no pension. And his last drawn salary was about 2004. Okay, that's very little at that time for a teacher, at that time, because he's a principal. So that's a very low salary versus that of what we have today. Okay, so I grew up very poor during that time. So money was a problem for me. Okay, and that became the foundation of how I got out of it and got into trouble. And I want to share my life story, right? Actually, from a sins perspective. Okay? So that's kind of different. I hope you can see it. I hope I got a little bit of attention. I'm not glorifying the devil, but I want to show you how the devil strategized in my life. And I also want to show you how God beat the devil at every stage by turning what was bad into something that was good all the time. So at the end of it, I hope you walk away, maybe rethink tonight, what was your life be from a devil's strategy perspective, and see how God has done miracles for you. And that I hope become your edifying story, not mine, but your personal edifying story. Okay? What's the devil's favorite sin?
Pride.
Okay. You read from the chart or you know? Pride. So the number one sin the devil targeted me was pride. Okay? Why pride? So I will jump here and there. I'll tell you the story, all right, as we go along. When I went to see my first client, which was an airline, and I proposed to them I was going to hire flight attendants for them. The question the VP of cabin crew or business development, right, asked me, Andrew, are you a flight attendant? Right? Because you want to hire a flight attendant. Are you a flight attendant? I said, Mr. So-and-so, I got a mirror at home. Right? I said, I grew up poor, but I got a mirror at home. This face, how to go to SQ interview. Right? What has that got to do with pride? Because when I was growing up, I looked into the mirror and said, Andrew, you're not very good looking. Right? And day in, day out, I tell myself that. Okay? But the devil used that fact against me. Okay? Because I was concerned about what? Looks, face value. And that was the negativity that was in my life as a kid. Right? Through the people around me. So my mom will pinch my nose and say, I hope your nose grow sharper. It's not possible. Right? But at some point, that pride, the beginning of pride is like, oh, I'm not rich, I got no money. Parents are very poor, and I'm the son of the vice principal in the school at that time. Is paiseh, because all the hand-me-down, the pen, the eraser, by the time reach me, wow, white become black already lah, or grey lah, you know what I mean? So my classmate would say, hey, buy a new one lah. But I was so afraid to ask my parents for money because they were struggling. My mom was sick. My dad was struggling. 6 mouths to feed. My grandfather, 2 other nieces, my mom's side, later became 3, 10 of us under one roof on $2,000. So you can imagine how tight it is, right? So because of that, I was worried what my friend thought about me because I'm the vice principal's son. But it's all pride lah. So it started with pride. Okay? So I became prideful because I said I want to beat the system. Okay? So no money, right? How to beat the system? I steal. Okay? I did what we call just-in-time ordering. So at 9 years old, I asked my friend, what do you want? They said, oh, a Matchbox car. Matchbox, I think about $1, $1.10. How to buy $1.10, sell them for $1.20 and make 10 cents? So the only way is take order, then go and steal. So you see how very quickly the sin of pride led me to steal. So at a very young age, because of that, I was stealing, then I sell to them at $1, cheaper by 10 cents, a big deal to my classmate, they pay me. Okay? So that's how pride can very quickly lead to bad things. Right? So be aware of pride. So what's the good thing about it? I learned how to do business. Correct? At 9 years old, I already figured out I need just-in-time ordering, inventory. I cannot hold inventory. I need to sell at a lower market price, you know. So where did that knowledge come from? God. So God took what was bad and planted in me the basic concept of doing business. Right? Managing cash, managing inventory. So I know all of this knowledge at a very young age, you know. Then there was anger. Next came anger. By the way, the pride also carry on. I didn't stop lah. Okay, I can still be quite prideful now lah. Right, just to let you know. Okay, so there's anger. What was the anger about? Because for very small amount of money, my mom will get worried and I will get angry. Right? So there was one specific incident. I was showering. Then my brother came and asked me, hey, you want Milo, which I drink Milo all the time as a kid, or he will add a word or, no? Or then I said, hey, my classmate, again because of pride, my classmate drink Horlick. So I said Horlick lah. Hey, Horlick is 5 cents more than Milo. But that 5 cents, you know at those times, big money. So my mother got angry and I got angrier. Right? Because I felt I wasn't loved. So she got angry, she came in and she caned me for being unreasonable or not understanding of the family situation. Right? I was 10 years old, man. I had no idea what that 5 cents difference would make. Okay? But I became angry. I became angry why my mother was angry over something so small called 5 cents. Okay? And the anger built in me. Right? And I became very good at doing certain things. Playing games to make some money. Bad lah. Right? Back then I make some money, I make 5 cents, 10 cents. So it was betting. So I got into stealing. By the way, the stealing didn't stop until much later. And then being angry. I can be so angry that I will challenge my friend to a duel of basketball. I make sure I win, plus maybe free drinks, free chicken wing, whatever I can get lah. Right? Then when they are about to win, I say stop. Because by the way, my Hokkien usually comes out around 8 o'clock. Right? So if you hear some Hokkien, it's the time, 8 o'clock. Yeah. So I felt, hey, I won already. So if I lose, I become very, very angry. Right? So that became part of the trap that the devil had of me at a young age. So what's good? How did God turn that into good? Competitiveness, right? Being competitive. I will go all the way to get something done when I need to in a competitive way. So you see, all the time, so my story is going to be like that all the way. I know some of you have already jumped to last lah. All right? Some of you already scroll down. Hey, when is anyone going to talk about lust? I know Sean personally, so he might hear my story about lust already. So sorry to bore you. Okay. Okay, so from the anger, right? The next part that the devil had a design was envy. So I looked at what other people have, and I said, how come I don't have? So I don't have what? Watches, right? My friends, I think 12 years old, 13 years old have watches already, right? So I like the watch. I saw Citizen, Seiko, but I got no money to buy. So what do I do? Can you guess?
Steal.
Yeah. Steal what? No lah, don't steal watch. Hard to steal watch. Steal what?
Money.
Okay, who said money? You must be thinking like me. Yeah. Steal money. Why? Because 13 years old, who want to play with Matchbox? So the market dry up, we saw. The demand no longer there, right? Number one. Number two, to steal money, to steal Matchbox, I have to go to NTUC. By the way, I still remember the NTUC and it's still there. Okay, I have to go to NTUC, then, And then one day I was caught. That's how I shift to money. One day I was caught by the manager at NTUC. So the manager at NTUC said, boy, I either call the police or tell your mother, or call your mother. I said, call the police. That was literally, I said, call the police. Because why? Because I didn't know calling the police, because my mother will cane me, right? Remember I told you about the caning? I think my mother will kill me, So I said, call the police. Okay? And he was shocked. Anyway, that episode taught me two things. One, the police is still safer at that time. Two, I cannot depend on Matchbox already. I need to move to something else. Right? So it became a habit. At a very young age, at 12, 13, I start thinking, hey, I need to steal something smaller called cash. Number one is more liquid. Okay? I can use. Wow, very... Okay, all through this time, I was very active as an altar server in church. Yeah. It is recorded, right? So I'm in trouble. But I have confessed the sin, so I don't mind sharing, all right? Of course, I've eventually put an end to it, right? So getting the money, but you get from who? So if you steal from parents, they'll know, right? Right? So I thought of a plan, because my father's relatives are Malaysian, right? So when they come to stay with us for a few days, they use what currency? Singapore dollars. What currency they will not notice? Ringgit lah. So by the time they notice, where are they? Too late lah. That's the answer lah. The answer is too late. They are back there already. So I'll take ringgit, right? Then the ringgit means I have to change, right? Okay, so I was trying to help you see at 13 years old what the devil has given me the idea, right? To change, right? So where do I go and change? Money changer. Very good. But I stay in Bedok. So where do I go and change? Nearest airport. Can you see how the airport lead to my work for the aviation? Can you see I'm jumping ahead now. I'm jumping ahead now, right? Right? So that bad thing, God allowed it to happen. Allow me to go to the airport and sit down there and look at all the airport people walking around, look at the aircraft, look at the pilot, look at the flight attendants, right? So I started my HR career at 13 years old. Okay? Wow, this one not happy leh. Because as walking, smiling, after that, the passenger. So I started assessing body language and people at that time without me knowing. I was just observing and watching, right? So as early as 13 years old, before I started the career or the business in flight attendant, 20 years later, God was already preparing. So when they say in His time, you can think it can be of 20 years, right? So really that was the foundation. That was the foundation of how I started assessing people from body language, assessing. By the way, Sijia, can I share? Sure. Yeah, I met Sijia at the recruitment long time ago, right? So she knows exactly what I do professionally. But that was my job. Okay, so the envy has caused me now to up my game, right? And the game was, hey, go for the money. But God took the opportunity and led me down the path to say, this might be a career I want you to have, which I have no idea. Okay, then comes gluttony, right? Why? Okay, so I fast forward from that point onwards, I got to a stage where I got caught a few times because my auntie would say, hey, I'm missing 500 ringgit. And then call my parents. So my parents went around the whole house to search for the money. Obviously, I stashed it somewhere. And then looked at me and said, if you stole it, you number one, go for confession. No, still me the whole, right? So that's my reaction. But my mother has no proof lah, but was telling me that, okay? So where did the turnaround came, right? The turnaround came because I told my father, right, who is the I love to play basketball. I was an altar boys, and I was also in Legion of Mary, okay? So I'm a very church-going ministry fellas with lots of baggage and sin around lah, right? So I was wearing a mask, right? I didn't like it, but I was wearing the mask nonetheless. Because the devil has a way to make you feel it's okay lah. You confess the same sin, it's okay one lah, right? So that journey came to a point where before my O-levels, I had to make a choice. Out of the 3 activity I was in, basketball, I was a school basketball player. I know I don't look like it. And then Legion of Mary and Altar Boys. So my father said, your O-level is coming, you need to drop one. Right? So out of the 3, you guess which one I drop. Just guess, you won't get it right anyway.
Altar boy.
Altar Boy. Anybody else?
Basketball.
Basketball.
Legion.
Yeah. Why? Why Legion of Mary?
Nothing for you to do there.
Yeah, nothing. Altar Boy, right? We still play soccer. Legion of Mary, nothing. Pray rosary, So, again, all these come back, right? Because of pride, because of primarily pride. Legion of Mary must say rosary every day. Paiseh, to go to Legion of Mary, then say, I didn't say rosary. So pride make young boys at 13, 14, 15 lie easily about saying the rosary. Actually didn't say lah, but lie. And lie easily. So you see how all this builds, right? Over time. So I chose to drop Legion of Mary. My father, being the vice principal of the school by then, said, drop basketball. Right? So he asked the school basketball coach to fire me as the captain lah. So I was out. And forced me to keep the 2, which he felt was the most important spiritual thing that I need to go through. And I love him for that. Because of what he did, I stayed in the Legion of Mary. Okay? Legion of Mary was Chinese Legion of Mary. My Mandarin is terrible, by the way. But what do you think happened in that Chinese Legion? Yeah, my Mandarin improved significantly. Okay? Because I have to read the Bible, read the scripture in Mandarin, jialat lah. My Mandarin improved. So I can go to China and conduct a training in Mandarin when I'm through the Legion process. Right? So God gave me a terrible, difficult task of learning Mandarin, but it helped me eventually do business in China quite effortlessly. All right? And people are generally, my boss at that time would send me, although I'm more speaking, right? Yeah. And because, again, leadership training or leadership related work in church, right? Okay, so fast forward, then army. Okay, so I'm going to skip some of those and I'll come to the part about gluttony. If you're interested in my career journey, you can go to my LinkedIn. But I want to jump to I fast forward a bit to go to the part that I was traveling. I was working as a regional manager and then later became a director in Honeywell, right? So where did the gluttony come? The gluttony came because when I travel, I work really hard. Okay? And then all of it, Honeywell Aerospace, all recorded, but it's passed already, so can say. Honeywell Aerospace staff get BMW, I was driving a Toyota Corolla, same level, right? they got very good perks. They got country club membership, got aerospace, they serve which airline? SQR. So I was always wanting to get into the aerospace industry. Because of my exposure, remember my money changer exposure? Yeah. So that has been planted in my head. So I was envious, right? I made good money, but my stress level was very high. I was angry with the company for giving me this amount of stress, right? So when I go outstation, when I order the food, I don't look at what to eat, no. I look at what most expensive. I order the most expensive, so okay, entree, okay, this one. So room service, you know. Wow, that's how this came about, right? Business class travel, that's how this came about, right? Actually, last time very thin one. So that started my journey of gluttony, right? The obsession with good, rich food, right? So in Japan, you know, in Japan when you go out and eat alone, especially after a whole day's, it's very saddening one, no? When they ask you a table for two, they are hoping you say two, then you say no, one. Then they sit you at one corner, face outside, then even angrier. Now, I order more food, okay? This is a struggle that some of us, me, at that time, I didn't even know. That has a foothold because it builds to the rest. Can you see? Sloth was the next. Because when you eat a lot, you don't want to exercise. When you don't exercise, you want to be lazy. So sloth came naturally. So when I was very stressed, I sat for hours and hours on the plane and asked myself, how do I get out of this stressful rat race? Okay? And then I looked at the flight attendant and I said, when I sat down, I set up a spreadsheet and I calculated, I said, hey, how many hours you all work? Then I calculated, hey, my hourly rate is slightly lower than theirs. Right? After I fly, I land, I still have to work. They rest. Okay, so, okay, again, anger. I decided I need to beat the system. How can I work less and earn more? Right? So I looked at how much I'm earning and decided that needs to stop. Okay. Then I had a bout of pneumonia. Because of stress, I spent 10 days in ICU. 20 days out of on medical leave. So 30 days, I was out of action. And during the time I was out of action, my email swell, right? I get about 100 a day. So you can multiply, it's about 3,000. I cannot catch up already. So my stress level went up. My doctor, then, you know, I started having high blood pressure. My doctor started telling me, hey, if you don't look after yourself, you may get called back very early, right? So it drove my desire for more sloth. Less work, less of everything. Actually, it's a wrong thinking. Do you all know that? So I started thinking how to retire early. Do you know that's the wrong thing? I didn't know then. I thought retiring early is glamorous, you know. I thought that's something to boast about. How stupid, right? So you see the little white hair, right? Here. That's when I stopped working. They came out. When I was working, they didn't come out, you know. It's very ironical. So the sloth, so during all that period of time, I was still involved. My Legion of Mary journey helped me cut the stealing habit. So by 15 years old, I stopped. Okay, obviously I went for confession, but that was the start of the turning point. Okay? And then September 11 happened, and when September 11 happened, it was a disaster for America, but it was very interesting because of my years of going to the airport, right? I can remember the aircraft, how big, you know. So I just asked at that time I'll talk about my marriage in a while, my first marriage. I just asked what aircraft hit the World Trade Center. I was in the car, and then my my first wife said, I think it's a Boeing 757. I said, hit which part of the building? He said, somewhere near the one quarter or one third top. You know what I said? I guarantee it will collapse. I just made that statement. Right? And I reached home, it collapsed. So my first wife looked at me and said, hey, I think you should be in the aviation business. Right? And so that started me thinking, right? So I saw an opportunity, and that was God blessed. Because whenever there was a problem, I looked from it from a, how do I solve it? Remember my problem, poor, how do I solve it? Right? So God was giving me all this inspiration. And then motivated by the wrong thing, if you will, sloth, I saw an opportunity to outsource flight attendant in Asia that was not being done. Right? So I had zero HR background and I just jumped in and started. Right? Then the story to Emirates at that time, that I have a mirror at home, so I won't be a flight attendant. Then they asked me, are you a pilot? I said, look at my eyes so small. How to see the runway? Sure, crash the plane, what? Okay, so he laughed again. Then he asked me, how do we trust our brand in your hands? Right? And why could you do a better recruitment job for us than what we can do ourselves? So I asked him to name the number of airlines that he'd flown with, and then he named 3 or 4 of them, and then in one breath I named 40, of which about at least 5 he has never heard of. Okay, and I said that was my experience of how long I've flown as a passenger, and time and spent at the airport. Okay, so I got a contract. Okay, so here's the punchline. So we are moving from sloth to last. Okay, so here's the punchline. The punchline was, I was working very little, and I was making very good money. And then what did I tell God when He rewarded me with that? I said, bye-bye. I quit the Legion of Mary. Okay? I said, I just got the Emirates contract, thank you very much. Now I got no time, I have to go work and support them. Stupid, right? But to me, at that time, it was logical sense. Okay? Have you ever seen a airline recruitment before? Probably not. You? No. Michael, you have? You went? Just kidding. Huh? You went before?
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so can you describe the number of people? Countless, right?
I'm having meeting at the...
Yeah. Okay, let him finish the call first.
Yeah. I got meeting.
Okay. Countless, right? Okay. So when I asked my first client, which was Emirates Airline, what percentage of staff do you want, female versus male? They said 90% female. That means I see 90% women, right? Can you see the problem coming?
Yes.
You can, but do you know I cannot at that time? But do you know I got a lot of good friends? A lot of good guy friends. But I cannot see the problem coming. To me, that's what? Right? I was married. Can you see the problem coming? Can you can see the potential issue, right? Can you see the trap
Yes.
along the way? God was trying to save me, right? Give me things, help me see His blessing. But I was so blinded, right? Because, hey, Emirates was up and coming at that time. Okay? So it's like a small boy going to a candy shop, but the problem is you can't eat the candy lah. I get visual stimulation, but I cannot mess around, right? Professionally, I can't, which by the way, I didn't, right? But can you see the struggle I have? So this was my next big chapter of my life, right? For 10 over years, this was a struggle all the time, and the devil was always giving me problems along the way. Temptation, you name it lah, right? So what did I do in order to avoid that? Instead of going back to God, because I already quit the ministry, I was too old to be altar boys, so I was already totally out. I became a Sunday Catholic, right? Money was extremely good. It was very important to me. So I fly on Friday. I work the campaign on Saturday, right? I'm embarrassed to tell you, I see 90% of the candidate, well, usually in the hundreds, so sometimes it's in the thousands. And then I get their resumes, right? There were some nights I look at it and say, wow, this girl is so pretty, right? And then there were some nights became a lot of nights. And became more and more, right? But professionally, my hands are tied, right? Okay. So what is the next best alternative? I know you don't want to say lah. The next best alternative is go business entertainment lah. Find a reason for business entertainment, right? So go and find business lah. China, so you know lah, straight away you can draw the, you know. So I was representing Emirates in 10 countries, including China at one point. And because of that, it took me to China. And because of going to China, it opened up my eyes about the possibilities in the area of entertainment, right? So that became a struggle. Did it affect my marriage? You think? Of course. I'll be lying to you if I say it didn't, right? Of course, there are other reasons. So those reasons, rightfully or wrongfully, are not necessarily the precipitating factor, but they are certainly, these reasons became an aggravating factor. It became the temptation to say, you know what, this is not working for me. Okay? So this became a significant issue. Then the marriage failed, eventually, obviously. So when the marriage failed, I had to deal with alimony, and I also had to deal with my son who is staying with my ex-wife, right? Okay, so wasn't exactly happy that the marriage failed, by the way. It is not part of my plan. I started asking God, why does He allow it to fail? Okay, and because I was praying about it, I realized my prayer life was in pits at that time. You know, when you're in trouble, then you go and pray. It's like your friend haven't seen you for a long time, then suddenly ask you to borrow money. You know what I mean? It's that kind of feeling, right? Of course, I was the one trying to borrow, right? So I realized my spiritual was all-time low. Okay? And I was prideful about it, you know. I said, I still go for confession once a year, ma. You know, that was how I think. So what can possibly happen? So here comes my mother, right? Which is what you wrote. My mother knows and supported the business all along. She wasn't the nemesis in terms of, you know, but she was totally upset that I would spend Friday traveling, Saturday working, and what do I do on my Sunday?
Entertainment.
No.
Church.
I go church. Wow, you really see me out. Huh? No, travel back. Because there's an excuse not to go church.
Oh.
No meh? Being Andrew Chai, Kenga Liao. Travel back ma. Business travel. Hey, no choice. Bo pian. My mom was ballistic. My mom said, you cannot spend one more night for 150 Sing dollars or 200. Stay one more night, come back on Monday, and then go to church on Sunday. I said, cannot. Because it's money. Again, I put money before God. Because money. Trying to save money. Business trying to save money. Can I afford the 150, you think? Can lah. Right? So, what was I thinking? So you think I've been faithful or not? Okay, so I want to write down. We all know that Jesus is faithful, right? Yes. And I hope at the end of today, with my real sharing. None of it is, well, it's all real. To ask ourselves, and I continue to ask myself this question, when was I unfaithful to Jesus? When he was so faithful. Because he was giving me all the good stuff. Right? The money was good. You know, my friends were envious that I was seeing pretty women. And of course, I would defend myself and say, there are more ugly ones and pretty ones I saw. So bad on me, right? Think about it. You're laughing, no? But at that time, I thought it was a joke too. Look at how I degraded women in my work. Because 10% passed, so it means 90% didn't pass. But that's how I tell my friends, you know. I don't know, is it a consolation? Just ugly, it's just me being ugly, right? So why would the marriage work when I put women so low?
Yeah.
True, right? Yeah. Thank you very much for agreeing with me. Finally, somebody agreed. So when the marriage failed, I spent 8 years to understand women. Okay? I understand why women think differently. 8 years, not so short time. During the 8 years, I listened to gurus, the real relationship guru, right? Tapes repeatedly, American ones and others, and I read books, right? Because I really want to make sure it doesn't happen again. And it all boils down to my respect for women was very low in the early days. And I realized I need to change. Okay? I had a business, they brought me some amount of income, but I wasn't getting my priorities right. And why do you think it was the case? Because God was not present. I was a Sunday Catholic with a traveling day on Sunday. How's that for being a Sunday Catholic? Right? God was not present. So for 10 years, approximately, of my business where I was doing well, God was not present. Did I still go to church every now and then? Yeah, whenever there's a no work, I still go, right? By then I'm 6 out of 7 already, you know. I'm hitting the 100% mark already. So I'm quite close. So here's where the relationship broke down. I had money, but I had no happiness. I was lonely on weekends. I called up my friends to go to more entertainment, right? I spent a lot of money. But throughout that time, I had a tool that God blessed me with that I didn't use. And it's sitting right in front of you. Okay? Because in the part of the journey of my work, I needed to understand people, right? So there was a lot of psychometrics that the airline used. And they were sitting in piles and piles of faxes. At that time, they fax, they don't email, in my office. Right? And I was diligently keying in those things. Right? And during that whole period of time, I met somebody that got sent miraculously from Taiwan. I met him a long time ago while I was in Honeywell. I didn't know. So God was preparing me for what I'm doing today more than 20 years ago. So whatever you're going through, ask yourself, in maybe 10, 20 years' time, God is preparing you to do something. Because that's what happened. And my realization was, actually, it's true. Right? So I prayed, for example, how to understand women. God sent somebody to teach me. How to understand people. God sent someone to teach me. Right? And the understanding was through drawings. And that was how I built the initial knowledge. Okay? So here, despite the fact that it was the toughest, most sinful time, toughest, I like to say that, the most sinful time of my life, God was faithful because He didn't give up. Okay, Jesus was there. He just wanted me to stick through it. And He needed to get my attention, right? So how do you think Jesus got our attention? Through what? Starts with F. Failure. You hear it? Failure. Don't have to be big, It can be small. But I've been ignoring it all along. So you think my failure big or not?
Big.
Huge,
Big, yeah, big.
Very big, okay? So I fumbled an exit, right? And because I fumbled the exit, somebody wanted to buy the company. It was a big amount. I fumbled the exit, it became a legal case, right? But because I fumbled the exit, it got my attention.
What does fumble and exit?
Means instead of selling it at the right price, an agreed price, it was sold at a heavily discounted price. Yeah, heavily discounted. So the exit of the business didn't bring me the value, right? Because I fumbled the exit, right? God helped me stop this because it was destroying my life. Straight away, no need to do flight attendant business already, right? Straight away, no need already. Right? So when that event happened, a few years later, my mother passed away. Okay, when my mother passed away, my sister, in one of a trip in the US, I still remember 2016. She said, I just want to tell you something. I still remember we were in a very nice place in Arizona called Sedona having Mexican food. Right? And then she said, I want to tell you that Mom wanted to tell you this. Mom was praying for your business to fail. Which, oh yeah, she is. Right? And why was she praying for the business to fail? Because I wasn't attending Mass lah. Right? So you see my choices. When I was in secondary school, I chose to give away Mother Mary. Siao, right? I chose the fun things, right? And very often, don't we all do that? And then you see that I chose to use travel as an excuse, right? So my mother saw that, and she didn't tell me I was wrong. I think she did lah. Probably it cannot go in, right? So she prayed for the failure lah. Guess what? Thank God she prayed for the failure. Because I would never have been able to get out of that failed relationship, the vicious cycle of the grabs of the devil, and get married again and annul the marriage in church, the previous one, and be happy. So I look back, my mom was not only wise, I was grateful. Okay, because it needed to put an end. Okay. So it's the scary part. You think Jesus gave us second chance or not?
Yes.
Many, right?
Yeah, many.
Many chances, right? Wow, my second chance is exactly the same as what before. Okay, I'll explain in a while. My second chance that God gave me, right, was so mirror image, right? It's just the year change only. And the partner change only. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, so when I first started a business, I had a son 6 months old, then the business started. I started. This is my second business I'm starting, right? Exactly the same timing. 6 months, start. Right? First one, I got investors that came in at the time to help me, Second one also, you see how ridiculous the mirroring is, right? It really scared me at some point, I was shocked at how gracious Jesus was to say, okay, I reset for you, but now you try to do it right. Right? And then it's so identical in the process. Okay. So what do you think was the first thing I did when this thing failed? This thing failed, right? I fumbled the exit, right? And it led to greed. Okay? Because I had some money. So that was the last one, where then I woke up. Okay? So the last one was, I was spending money like, I exited, I had some savings, so those of you who were with me, you know watches so I buy watches like no need money, Okay, so today I wore the very first watch I bought when I started the business. Right? I went back to basic and realized that was how God blessed me initially. But I got carried away, right? Shoes. I have more shoes than my wife. It's embarrassing. So to keep up, I buy 2 pair. You know what I mean? I buy mine and buy hers. And she cannot complain. I got more shoes, right? Clothings, needless to say, was branded. I collected property like it was free. So I over leverage. So I decide property based on what I don't have, Scary, right? Cars. I have more cars than I need. Today, I have more watches than I need. Right? So that was the avarice, and that was the final straw. Right? So this is the final straw. This is the one that really woke me up. Okay? So before COVID, I lost a sizable amount of money. Right? Through investment. Then I attended Archbishop homily during COVID. I was inspired by his homily before he became cardinal. And during one of the homily, he talked about the importance of business, corporate people stepping up to lead in the church. Right? So I sent him an email and said, hey, I'm going to come back to the ministry because I really learned my lesson, right? I had to surrender to God. I'll come back to the ministry. He introduced me to the then chairman of Kelly Foundation, Willie Ching. He's here. I had an interview with Willie. So Willie asked me what I would want to do. Anyway, I fast forward. Eventually, I became member of the board. And I was resolved to not let history repeat itself. Okay? So a few things I did. One, I went for retreat because that's the process to jumpstart the relationship with Jesus. So if your relationship with Jesus was so-so, a retreat is the best way. Okay? So I went retreat to make sure I jumpstart my relationship with Jesus. I got my priorities right, that serving in church is required. So I go back to what my parents taught me about being in ministry, right? Then Willie asked me what I could contribute to the Kelly Foundation and said maybe I could put together, because of my background in insurance, training, sales, HR and so on, put together a training program on management of money. Right? I went home and told my wife, I said, it's a joke, man. Right? Because I just lost a ton of money, fumble and exit. Now I'm going to teach people how to manage money. Funny, right? It was quite funny. Of course, Willie didn't think it was funny. Right? But did I have the background? Yeah. Right? So the phrase God qualifies the call is because I actually didn't know how to manage money when I had it. So I had to learn, right? Relearn. Okay, I'm not that bad a financial planner, by the way, but it's just how I didn't exit it well. I didn't invest it well, right? Because I didn't put God as the center of my life. I didn't go back to Him and say, hey, you think I should invest in this or not? And discern. I had a poor spirituality then, right? I attended CR about a month ago, yeah, right? 68. And then I saw it in a little bit different light, right? Then I realized, actually, wow, then I checked all the boxes, Wow, this is what 5 leh, wow, this is 10 leh, Wow, got double tick one leh, You know what I mean? Wow, this one even more, right? Okay, so as I went along, some less, actually now I'm a bit struggling with this. So at night I look at where's the best Hokkien mee. My wife laughed at me. I'm still struggling with this. This is my latest trend that I'm fighting. So, it was during that part, I realized when I ask and I pray for something, Jesus answered all, Mary intercede for me, and Jesus answered all my prayer. Okay?
What is CRE?
Oh, CR is Conversion Experience Retreat. Yeah, it's open to non-Catholic but must still ballot. Right? Yeah, sorry, I took that for granted. So in the journey of the pride part, so I go back a little bit because I already given you the long story. I had 2 incidents where my pride was badly hurt. One incident was my first puppy love of a girl at the bus stop. I saw, right? Recorded so I cannot say her name, but it's embedded here, okay? So you can imagine the puppy love, how strong, it's embedded here. When you stop recording, I say the name, yeah. You don't go to Paya Lebar Methodist Girls, Yeah, take the bus from near my house, Bedok, and then I go to Maristella. So it's kind of along the way, right? So I will look at her, she's very pretty. She stay on the 5th floor of block. Okay, that one too much already lah. So you can see that I can take you there and show you where I stand near the kitchen and look at her lah. That was my puppy love when I was about 14 years old, right? Then one day, a good-looking boy, I look at her for 10 years. Dare not take her number. I wouldn't dare to ask her for number or her name, So I look at her for 1 year. Then one day, a very good-looking boy came and whisked her away, right? Then I felt threatened already, right? So at 14 years old, I say, must know her name and her contact number. That's how I know her name. I went out and talked to her, asked for her name and her contact number. She gave me, but it was too late. Okay? So instead of asking her why, and maybe she would tell me, you took 1 year. People take 1 week, you take 1 year, so long. I didn't. So I thought it was my face, appearance. So I prayed, God, let me overcome the lack of appearance. Help me build character. And Jesus answered my prayer. So I spent all the time building other skills. Okay, same event, one guy, actually same guy, that stole the girl. 3 years later, when I was in JC, my mom cuts my hair because we were poor. Right? So, you know how she cut it Like put a bow and cut Right? He laughed at my hair while going down the bus. And I have very skinny legs, So I wear shorts, I was in VJ. He laughed and said, hey, sure not, this one Victoria Junior College. Look at the hair. Hey, I pay you $10. $10 at that time was a lot of money to have his hair cut. So I felt hurt because my parents could not afford, right? So I felt hurt. But it was all pride, right? Hey, hair grow very fast, right, for men. So why was I so bothered? Actually, now I'm less bothered, but at that time it bothers me, right? Okay, so you finished drawing, Okay. So I want to tell you about 3 retreat experiences I had. And one of them is related to the drawing. And I'll share with you in a while. When this started failing, I realized I need to jumpstart my relationship, right? I need to go back. So I go back to basic. So one of the first basic thing I went back was catechism. Okay? Because for those of you who are employees and entrepreneurs, if you cannot tell the most famous story in the world, called the Jesus story, very hard to tell your own story. Nobody knows you or me. Think about it. And this was advice my dad gave me. Right? So I went back to being a catechist, to be a catechist because I want to relearn the story of Jesus. So that was my start of my turnaround. Okay. Then, during that retreat, I pray, Lord, why do you allow all these things to happen? Why do you allow What did you allow? And that was me confronting Jesus Christ in a mountain in United States in a retreat called Crucio. It's a Spanish word. What do you allow me to fumble the exit and to lose the investments or the earnings, right? And in that mountain area, which is beautiful, I heard a true scripture reading and the message coming to me and said, why are you not building your kingdom? Why are you not building my kingdom with your talent? Okay? So if you have my WhatsApp, you will see my WhatsApp picture it says, here I am, send me. Right? That's my WhatsApp picture. Because I surrendered, I said, okay, here I am. So what do you need me to do? Right? So that was my first retreat. That was the start of the turnaround. So that was before I went to California. So this was 2017, right? 2017, that was the first retreat. But I really decided I need to come back. I need to help Jesus with building the kingdom, his church, right? So the rest I won't repeat. The second retreat was PR, right? Right after COVID was starting to open, a prayer experience retreat. And at PR, and I knew by that time I was a little bit more alert already. I knew that the devil was going to pick one of these to attack me, right? To have a spiritual warfare. So the night before PR, guess what happened to me? Cannot sleep, That's a problem, what? PR, I cannot sleep. I don't know why, I just toss and turn the whole night, right? And then when I reached CSC stands for Catholic Spiritual Center, where I went for the retreat, I know that Jesus understood what I was struggling. Because the entire CSC has two pillars inside the auditorium. My chair, because it was assigned, COVID, right? So the chair was assigned. My chair was right next to the pillar like that. Like that. Only chair out of 75. How odd. And it's assigned, so it's not I choose one. So I just go there and they say, okay, Andrew, this is your chair. Then I sat down. Wow. And I wasn't tired because I had the lean. So I had Jesus as a pillar. And that already got my attention, right? So he said, I know you're struggling. I know you're tired. You just have to go through this. Okay. So as a Catholic, a created Catholic for so many years, one of the things I wanted was the gift of tongues. Right? Praying in tongues. Like bobine, face value again, like no face, Wow. So I prayed really hard, I prayed so hard that I said, hey, why can't I have the gift of tongues? But I didn't understand why. But CER, I understood. Okay, at CER, I got it. Why I didn't have it. Okay, so I'll come to that in a while, right? So at PR, the message I got was, I've given you a gift, right? Which is this. And you haven't fully utilized that gift yet. And you're asking for something that you don't need to have it now. Right? So this was 20, I think PR was 21 maybe. Okay, before I will end off with CR, but I will now tell you the gift that God gave. Right? Because it is not me to be able to build this. Right? But of course it took over the years. So I use yours as an example. Okay, so even you see the drawing, you won't know. Okay. So I'm not going to do this with everybody. Right? Have you met me before? No. Do I know you? No. Okay. Sometimes you think too much. Let me finish, bo. Cannot rehearse like that. Correct or not? I don't know her. Right? But you are a very considerate person. I know her. Hey, this is not horoscope. This is not Suan Ming. This is psychology. And this is the gift. So I'm able to tell my client, This is how you should work with Faustina. You don't give her something, you hear me out, huh? This is a live demo, live, yeah. Don't give her something to do that she cannot say no. Because she don't know how to say no. Even when she doesn't want to do it. How can this be from a person? Can you see? So this is how I help my client say, hey, treat the staff this way because this is who they are as a person. Don't think like yourself, right? So if you give Faustina something to do, she's going to think very deep, but she'll come out with the answer. Give her time, don't rush her. Right? She'll think very deep. So be very clear, don't make her worry. So stress level goes down. Right? Productivity increase. Okay, now take this a little bit further. Can this prevent marriage from breaking down? Okay. And what did I go through? One failed marriage, right? And how long it took me? 8 years to understand women, right? So can you see this is an avenue to help? And that's my motivation. Right? But I can't do this manually. Now I'm doing it manually, right? I have to put this into a software. And that's what I'm doing now.
No, but how do you interpret? I mean, is it a gift to you only or what? Is it?
So far it is.
We have to go through all this.
Yeah. And I have the ability to memorize, interestingly, drawings, but not names.
Okay.
Why? I protect the identity. So I cannot remember your name. So my clients will always ask me, can you tell me who? Cannot. It's just it's like going for confession, you cannot remember the person, right? Yeah. I mean, sorry, it's a bad analogy, but you get what I mean. You know what I mean? So I have this natural inability to memorize your name. But I can remember your drawings. How do I know?
How do you know you have this gift?
Yeah. So at PR, I prayed really hard. I'm not kidding. It was really like I was begging. And the answer is no, you're not going to get the gift of tongues. You have something you have not fully utilized it yet. Right? Okay. And remember the investment I made poorly? The money that I lost here? The greed? Right? And then I'm to teach people how to manage their money better. So when that failed, I asked the Lord, why did it fail? Right? And in that discernment process, God said, you use it to recruit people. Why didn't you use it on your business partner? Or your future investment? So I did. So I saw that when I didn't do it, it was a massive problem. Not just money, headaches, all that. Then as I went along, the money, the losses become smaller and smaller. The trend. Because, okay, how come I didn't do it? Okay. So my latest is somebody that reached out to me on LinkedIn, say he can do something for me. Then I asked him to draw. Very cheap. He said he can do something, $150 per month for 6 months. Cheap, right? But his drawing tell me cannot. He won't deliver. So I save $150 for 6 months. Right? Okay, how can that not be a gift? Right? When I can prevent some of the headaches. Okay?
So how do you, if it's not logical, how can you become a software?
It is logical. Yeah. I mean, I can't divulge the black box. Right? But I'll tell you why it works. Right? Maybe that will help you understand. One of the line you saw is this one, right? Correct? So what do you see as? When you first saw it, what do you see as?
Uphill.
Up. Up is the answer. Up. Up, right? Okay. Anybody say horizontal? Okay. Anybody say down? Just look at the answer. It's universal. Everybody say up. It didn't matter where you come from. Huh? Yeah, no. The shape. Look at the shape first. What you drew is something else.
It could be down, it could be up, it could be
Yeah. Okay, so what in our lives we hope go up, but sometimes do come down. What in our lives we hope go up? Money. Upwards, right? Anybody say, hey, I want to make less next year? Anybody? You want to tell a boss, hey, can you cut my salary? Please. You're paying me too much. Can you make it half? Will you do that? No, right? But your boss said, I'll pay you more. Is it okay, right? But I said, pay you less. Hey, boss, I was waiting for you to tell me to pay me less, man. No, right? It's universal. So what I'm trying to say is the shape universally talks to your brain and asks you for money, career, business, relationship, lifestyle, all upwards what? Universal. I don't care whether you are rich or poor lah. Correct? Elon Musk would say, I still want to make more and more money lah. Right? That's what I mean. So it's universal. So it's like a reflex. It's an imprint. The moment it's imprinted, you draw it out. It is your current state of what is the most important thing to you. Okay? It's the current state of what is the most important, predominant thing to you. Our job is to identify, out of that 5, what is it? That's it. Make sense or not? It's logic lah. So it can be made into a software. It's not easy, but yes, it can. Okay?
But I don't understand the gift, right, you're talking about. Is this only to you or what? Or is it a technical analysis which is like...
Okay, the gift, okay, very good question. Am I the only person in the world that has this? Currently, I think so. But 100 years ago, already have psychologists who have it. It's called the Rorschach test. Right? 100 years ago, a Swiss psychologist, he's special, I think he's psychiatrist. A Swiss clinical psychiatrist already had this. It's called the Rorschach in block. Right? So if you watch a Hollywood movie, children draw, right? And from the drawing, they tell their state of mind. Yes, you nod your head means you understand this concept, right? It's the same concept. Right? Just that I learned it through someone else who is a professor in psychology, and God provided that link. Yeah. So that is the gift. Not the voila, no, I didn't. But that was the gift, right? Yeah.
Where can we learn this course?
No course. One, you have to memorize easily 40,000 drawings. Very hard. It took me about 15 years to fully master this. So it's, yeah. So yeah, you're not the only one who asked me, but we are building a software, and we hope at one day to use it between business partners, so they don't fight and get into a lawsuit. Any lawyer here, I'm probably not the right thing to say. Marriages have values that are aligned. Relationships. Right? And when it's not doing well, they know where to look for and know where to counsel or coach or train or fix, right? Companies that hire correctly and work in a respectable manner. Thank you, I just took yours because it was real quick, easy. Okay, now let's talk about CR. So after PR, I was a little bit deflated lah. But I know this was the journey God wants to take me down, the path to build this. So that was very clear. I need to use it to build His kingdom. So I picked up the courage and go to my parish priest and said, we're going to implement this. Okay? He didn't understand what I was saying. But he said, do whatever you need to, because he knows my background was in HR. So we did it in OLPS. Right? With some success. Right? Some because I cannot do the same level of assessment and standard corporate in church. I have to give the fact that God qualifies the call. Right? So even if I see something that is I got question mark. I have to let go lah. But I know how to manage the process, right? So that was how I started doing it for Catholic Church. Okay. Then I went to CR. Okay. And I have a friend that tells me, hey, Andrew, I know you've been praying for the gift of tongues. But you have to purge your sins. Right? For the Holy Spirit to be in you. Right? So you know what was my pompous, prideful response? Purge my sin? Wow, Creator Catholic, no. I have 50 years, 50 some years, right? Every year 2 times, go for confession. Hey, more than 100 times already. Purge me? I didn't say it, but that was what I was thinking. Right? But I kind of brush it aside. So CR opened my eyes to know that the Holy Spirit is the only way to get closer to Jesus. Of course, you can do through Mother Mary, but the Holy Spirit is the best way, I should say, maybe, not only, is the best way to get closer to Jesus. And without giving away, need to purge sins. Okay? So I was very attentive at CR, right? Because I really wanted to test the theory of what my friend said, which is, hey, don't purge, I won't get the gift of tongues, which I did, right? But it was a really, sit down and list down all the possible sins I can ever imagine. Well, needless to say, it helped me prepare for this talk. Because I kind of know through the process, right? So, okay, so I want to leave you with this. By the way, later when we are done, you can still come to me. I know you have a burning question, right? But I want to leave you with this. When we pray to, okay, I just want to poll. How many of you pray to Jesus for wisdom? Boa. Got lah, wisdom. Guess what he will give you or allow it to happen?
Why the things on earth to receive the things.
Mistakes. What else? Start with P.
Problems.
Problem, right? Because that's how you train wisdom. I mean, do you have an alternative? I cannot think of one.
I should stop praying. And I heard you.
Right? So when you pray for patience, you're going to get trying situation, right? Agree? But that's how our Lord teaches us. Okay? You agree, right? Okay. So the takeaway, if anything, tonight is number 1, be aware. Wrong word, Be aware of what you pray for. And then when it comes, be aware. God heard your prayer. And He's going to give you, right? So all along, I was praying, I didn't know that God was answering my prayer. All along. Right? I want to overcome this face value. So He give me something else better. I want to overcome sloth. Right? He actually gave me a very easy business, He gave me. But He was waiting for me to be faithful. And I wasn't faithful. That's it. That was a mistake I made. Right? I just wasn't faithful. Right? I'm still struggling with maintaining my spirituality. Right? I'll be honest with you. Even after CR. But I'm doing a much better job than before. That much I can say. So there's 2 times in my life where I was going to God very often. Right? One was when the debunker happened, the situation that I had, the financial challenges I had. The other is after CR, I realized I cannot let it happen again. So I'm working hard to maintain that. Please pray for me. Some days I'm more successful than others.